history. So I played hours on Cruise for a Corpse while I was at university, and that was in the mid-90s. Not long afterwards I was introduced to the PlayStation, and at that time in my life I was in the right place, the right mindset. I was mixing with the right circles. I was in a house share with a couple of guys who were hardcore gamers. I used to be tucked up in my room playing Cruise for a Corpse on my PC, or they'd be downstairs playing shoot 'em ups on the PlayStation. And anytime I fancied being social, I'd go downstairs to the living room, just sit around doing as students do, having a drink or whatever, and watching them playing the games. I play a little myself. I discovered Command and Conquer, that was my game. That was the first console game that I was hooked on, and I loved it. It was a strategy game. I'd liked board games. I'd always been into board games as a kid, and I liked Risk was one of my favourites, but I could never find anyone to play it with me because I always won. I was always really competitive, and I'm a pretty good loser, but I'm a really bad winner. I used to gloat terrible whenever I'd win. So I found it difficult to find anyone to play with, and here was a computer playing something very similar to Risk. So, I was in my element. So I trained myself in PlayStation controls, I suppose, by playing Command and Conquer endlessly. And once you've mastered the controls of a PlayStation, it's very easy to switch from one game to another game and to enjoy things. And the PlayStation 2 came out, and one of the guys in the house got a PlayStation 2, and we play Tomb Raider all night, and oh gosh, what are the games with Tekken? Oh, I love Tekken 2. And I used to play the characters that on Tekken 2. Tekken 2 was a fighting game, a bit like Street Fighter. I think Mortal Kombat was similar, but yeah, it was a Tekken 2 household, and I used to play my specialist character was a character called, was it Wang or Wong? It was like an old Chinese guy. And apart from the two guys in the house, nobody could beat me on Tekken. I was shit hot, and I'm telling you, when you're a girl gamer, especially in those days, and you're beating the guys on fighting games, you are just the coolest. That is, you couldn't imagine anything more cool than a girl who can kick your butt on a fighting game. And I don't know, the gaming crowd at that point was kind of the cool crowd to hang around with, and I was the queen of Tekken. So it was a really fun part of my life. That Nintendo came out with can't remember the name of the console now, but they brought out Bond, was it Golden Gun? And it was a multiplayer. We could play up to 4 people, and it was the first shoot 'em up that I was ever any good at. It wasn't the best, but I could hold my own. I was better at sniping, like find somewhere somewhere good to hide away and then take pot shots. Stash myself either with a sniper rifle or rocket launchers were always good. But yeah, I was better at sneaking than I was at rushing and spraying the bullets. But yeah, I definitely could hold my own. Let's just pick my next mining spot. Now we'll just take a bit more of this. So I've been gaming was the centre of my community. It was what I spent most of my spare time doing. If I wasn't, even after I graduated, I'd come home from work and it was how I'd relax, how I'd escape from, you know, whatever the daily bothers were with work, or how I'd chill out after a hard day at the office. Games to me were just part of my life, and I would spend hours and hours playing games. As the 90s came to a close, console games sort of took a little bit of a lull. There wasn't really anything that was catching my fancy, but the focus had switched to PC games then. So at that time, Dungeon Siege had come out, and one of my all-time favourite games was Dungeon Siege. And at this moment, I don't own it, but I have seen that it's available on Steam, and I am going to play Dungeon Siege sometime in the near future. We'll play Dungeon Siege. It's fabulous. It's just such a good adventure game, and at the time it was groundbreaking. Yeah, they were just amazing games. Things you just stuff you'd never imagined. You'd never seen anything like this before when they came out. Age of Empires was another fantastic PC game that I used to love and I'd spend hours playing. But yeah, with such good PC games, the consoles sort of took a back seat, and I'd focus on the PC games. I think the only other console games I played around that time, on the PlayStation, I played The Sims, and I can't remember whether it was Sims 1, 2, 3, or which volume or series. Can't remember now. But that's what killed my PlayStation. I took time off work. This is in the early to mid 2000s, maybe about 2003, 2004. I took time off work when a new Sims game had come out, and I played it straight. At this point in time, I have my own house. I'd stocked up on food. The bills were paid. Everything. I locked myself away for 4 or 5 days, and I just played Sims non-stop. And it was more than the PlayStation could take. So I'm afraid that was the last time that I owned and played on a PlayStation. It burnt out the laser. There was a problem with PlayStations doing that at the time. Yeah. So, well, I had a PC. I think I was playing games on I think it was an IBM ThinkPad? No. something. It was a laptop anyway. I had an IBM laptop, and I had a Nintendo. I think it was a GameCube. Was it Nintendo did the GameCube? It was definitely Nintendo, because the other game I liked playing was Zelda. I got stuck somewhere on Zelda. I never got past that point. Something happened. So I liked Zelda and I liked Mario Karts. Something happened to the Nintendo as well. I can't remember what. But basically that became life expired too. It stopped working. Did I burn out the power pack on that one? I might have. So all that was left was I had a laptop and a defunct Nintendo, a defunct PlayStation, and it was time for an upgrade. The only game at that point that I could play was Age of Empires, which I loved. Age of Empires, or might have been the predecessor. Age of, I don't know, I've got it now, I've been playing it recently. Was it Age of Kings? Something like that. No, it was Age of Empires. But yeah, I'd been playing Rome Total War on a friend's PC. And another game. There was another game that I really liked. That was it was Dungeon Siege. Yeah, I was playing Dungeon Siege on somebody else's PC. I wanted to play those two games. I needed my own PC to do that, so I bought myself a custom build, and it was custom built around those two games, Dungeon Siege and Rome Total War. And the PC was great. And of course I played lots more games, and by this time, the internet had been not only invented, but broadband had been invented, and of course we had that. I had an excellent broadband connection, so I'd be playing online games too. And then in I think it was 2008, thereabouts, 2008, 2009, when my PC died. By this time the PC was, it needed replacing everything, the graphics card, the motherboard, the CPU, everything was too old anyway. And I think what happened, I think it was the power supply that eventually went, but it needed a complete overhaul. So rather than just buy some new bits for it and upgrade it, I thought I'll just buy a whole new PC. But my life was changing. Work had become, by this point I had a career, I had a good job, still have a good job actually. I got married a couple of years after that, and my focus wasn't on games anymore. There was other stuff in my life, just taking too much time. So I hadn't really played. I played the odd game. I loved business simulation games and things like railroad games and that sort of thing. So I played some, but it didn't need a specialist PC. I didn't need the hardcore gaming PC. So the thing that actually suited me best at the time was a MacBook Pro. I had by that point I had an iPhone, and I was looking to move over to a Mac platform, because of the other stuff outside of gaming. It was what I really needed. on 1 second. Right, just need to line myself back up again here. And I've still got that MacBook Pro. It's the laptop that I use for, well, just about everything. It's going strong. It's sat next to me right at this moment. It was what I was using to do my sound checks on a little earlier today. And very pleased indeed. Now, at risk of flaming platform wars, the only problem with Macs is that they're not gaming machines. There's things you can play on them, but that's not their primary purpose. So I couldn't play Dungeon Siege on it. I couldn't play Total War on it. I mean, it's, you know, these were the games that you couldn't really play on laptops anyway. They require cooling. They require some decent cooling. Well, they did at the time when they were brought out. They were cutting edge games at the time they were brought out. They needed power and they needed cooling. So, you know, my gaming sort of dropped off somewhat. I never stopped. It was Farmville and, say, Railroad Simulation. Play RuneScape online, stuff like that. But I wasn't really satisfied, and I think I felt that in my life, that it felt like there was something just not quite satisfied. There was something missing in my gaming, and one fateful day, it was a fateful day, I was bored. And that's what happens when you don't play games enough, when you don't have games at your fingertips. I was bored. I wanted to do something, watch something, and I went onto my computer, my laptop. It was the only thing I had at the time, apart from my phone. And I searched on Futurama. Don't know why, can't remember why, but I just fancied watching an episode of Futurama. And what came up was, in the Google search, was a guy called Muckluck on YouTube. Let's play Futurama. And I couldn't find any episodes of the actual cartoon. So, as I couldn't find what I wanted, I clicked on the YouTube video. Thought, no, well, we'll watch that, have a look at that, and it was really amusing. I really liked it. It was this guy called Mr. Muckluckable, and he was playing a game called about Futurama, and he was playing it in episodes on YouTube. Now, I'd never come across Let's Plays before that. I didn't know people did this. I thought YouTube was somewhere where you went to watch videos of music. I didn't know you could watch games on there. And as I mentioned earlier, I used to spend a lot of time watching people play games. I was either playing them myself or I was sat in the living room watching the guys play games. And we would often collaborate on single player games by one of us would manage the controller, the other one would be solving the puzzles, somebody else would be watching, you know, but it would take three of us to solve a game like Lara Croft. It can be quite hard to focus on the gameplay and try and solve the puzzles. Try and work out where you need to go and how to stay alive, and to watch. We did a very big telly, so to to watch everything and do everything could be quite difficult. So that, with that kind of background, having spent a large proportion of my early to mid-20s watching people play games and having a lot of fun doing it, I just found it very easy to get back into watching this guy, Mr. Muckluckable, playing Futurama on YouTube. It was very similar, it was the same sort of thing. And of course I can watch YouTube on my phone, so it was so much more entertaining than the telly. I've never been one for watching much telly, and I've been watching telly just because, you know, I didn't really have the kind of games I wanted to play. I couldn't play Total War, I couldn't play Dungeon Siege. I did feel sort of out of the loop a little bit. I didn't know what games were hot. Yeah, I sort of had felt like I was missing out on gaming. So, and here it was, gaming was being brought back into my life, and I was able to sort of experience games through another person. And it was so much more interesting than watching the telly.